Can you tell us roughly what you exited for?
It was more or less million.
This is Joshua. Joshua was the first person we ever met who'd had an FBA exit, and he's got a pretty wild story. In this interview, we discuss how he got his start in FBA.
He's like, yeah, I make 25k a month profit. I'm like, holy shit, like 25k. I'm like, how much work? 4 hours a week. It's something ridiculous. And I was like, okay, you have to teach me.
How he quickly managed to scale his business.
I think 5 million revenue in the third year.
And what happens when you actually hit your massive goal?
First of all, my goal was to be a millionaire at some point, you know, so I was like, yeah. I worked for it, and then at some point I got the money in the bank, and I was like, okay, what now what?
Plus a bunch of other topics that you're going to want to hear if you're a wannabe Amazon seller, an existing Amazon FBA seller, or even if you run an Amazon FBA agency. Because this guy now runs one of the best in the game alongside a successful 7-figure brand. Let us know what you think. Enjoy. Joshua from Moonads, welcome to the channel, finally.
Finally, thank you very much for the invite.
Good to have you.
You one of the most requested, from within inside of Honest FBA, probably the most requested man to come on and give a bit of your backstory. So yeah, glad we got to do this finally. I know you've been a massive member of our community for a while now, and you spoke at our event in London, which went down awesome as well. So yeah, excited to have you on. We're going to go through a bunch of stuff today, and I'll kick things off. You were the first Amazon FBA post-exit person we ever met, wasn't it? In Barcelona.
Yeah. I was going to a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, my first Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class ever, and I was on top of Alex, or Alex was on top of me, sweating. I was trying to not get choked out, basically. And after that lovely first meeting, I think one of us asked the other person, like, what do you do? Probably, I think it was me. And Alex, I think you said you had something like a feeling or a hunch that I also did FBA or e-commerce. And yeah, that was our first meeting. But maybe you have something to add, but yeah, that was it.
I don't know what it like the way that you asked me, and then as soon as you started speaking, I was like, he's gonna say something related to like e-com here, and then you were like, oh, I think you said I do e-commerce or something like that, or I just sold my e-commerce, and then I was like, oh, what type? And you were like, Amazon FBA, and I was like, because it was like we'd never met anybody in real life that did Amazon FBA.
You sent me I got a really excited voice note from Alex. This must be in 2020, was it? Or 2021? Early 21 maybe. And we were like 6 months in, me and Alex, to working together, I think, and got a really excited voice note. And then we met you for brunch. And then I remember leaving that brunch, and it's embarrassing. Me and Alex were walking down the street, and you were like, you told us this is a good idea, like you're gonna do well here. And we'd never heard that from anyone who'd like had an exit or made money in the game. And we were walking down the street, and then we like high-fived down the street, and then realized you were walking right behind us. So we were like, oh.
Beautiful.
But something we discussed at that breakfast, I remember, that brunch, was you used to play poker professionally, which also Alex did as well for a full-time gig. And it seems like to me there's a bunch of people that have gone from poker into FBA. Yeah. Why is that so common?
So I think with the poker players, first of all, why a lot of poker players get into poker is because they want to be financially independent. They're trying to do something that's not a 9-to-5, that's something that they can do for themselves, that they don't have a boss. They seek that freedom on both on the short term and the long term. So I think in that community, when I was young, around 18, it was like a big poker boom. The WSOP, I think, was won by an amateur or something, and everybody started playing poker. So it was that was the moment to start playing poker, and yeah, with basically no skills, be able to like at least try to make a lot of money by yourself. You know, I think that's the allure of playing poker. And then in that community, at some point you do it for 8 years and you make some money, but you know the game, you get bored, it gets more tough, and the same group of people, like some people started doing other things, right? It can be cryptocurrency, it can be starting like businesses, investing in real estate. And Amazon FBA was one of the things that like a friend of mine who played poker actually was doing. And one day I was playing a video game with him, and was Dota 2. And I asked him, like, what do you do now? Because I knew he didn't play poker anymore. And he's like, yeah, I have this brand. I sell stuff on Amazon. I was like, yeah, whatever. So you basically, I checked this website, and it was horrible, like this horrible website, and like 2 months passed by or something, and then I spoke to the guy again because I was just like, yeah, this guy, what the fuck is he doing with his life, you know? So 2 months passed by, and I began playing this video game with him. Like, yeah, but like, do you make money with this? Like, what's going on here? He's like, yeah, I make 25K a month profit. I'm like, holy shit, like 25K. I'm like, how much work? How much do you work? It's like 4 hours a week, or like literally 8 hours a week, or something ridiculous. And I was like, okay, you have to teach me. And he didn't want to teach me in the beginning because he already had 3 students, and I was just, I was like, I need this. So I called my best friend back in the day, who was also a poker player, and I'm like, okay, this guy, he makes 25K a month. He works 8 hours a week with this thing. We have to learn it. So the next day, this guy drives to my place, I think, and we didn't have any deal set up yet that we were going to get the coaching from the guy, right? But the next day, the guy drove to my place. It was 2-hour drive. And next morning, he's at my doorstep, and we're discussing how to do things. And we basically are making the plan of how to start the business. With my ex-girlfriend then, now ex-girlfriend, my best friend, we started the first business. And then I just started asking the guy and saying, yeah, but you can also teach me. Just make a Skype group. We can do 4, just do 4 people. It won't be an extra burden for you, blah, blah, blah. And in the end, he said yes, and that was the beginning of the journey. Yeah, so that was pretty crazy.
So what year was that in?
Oh man, it's about 9 to 10 years ago from now. So I guess 2016, I think, around 2016, 2015, end of 2015, maybe. Yeah.
I think what that shows though, and I think one of the reasons why poker players transition very well into like Amazon FBA is like you see somebody making 25K a month.
Yeah.
And then your reaction is, I want to learn how to do that. But like the majority of people see that and they just think that, oh, like I wouldn't be able to do that. Or like, I think it's that entrepreneurial sort of like, and you have that like growth mindset of like, all that is something that I need to learn. And then I can have, and I think that's a very like poker way of seeing things. Because in poker, it's like, you know that if you learn the right skills and you put in the time, then eventually over time you're going to make money. And it's the same with business. And that's like you don't think of all of these things. You just see like, okay, that guy's making money. I'm going to learn and how to do the same. And I think that's the same in like no matter what you do, if you view it as that of like, can you make money? Yes. Okay, how do I do it? Find somebody that knows what they're doing, and then they just teach me. I think it's that like, having that like open mind, isn't it, that helps you basically succeed at anything.
In the end, it's not rocket science, like if it's not like we're building Twitter here or building Tesla, you're building a brand, and there's like people with restaurants, butcheries, bakeries, like they all make money, right? So like a normal person in this life, if you put your mind to it, you just, you get the information, you just constantly try to improve and seek out more information and be critical and improve. And that's exactly what it is, Alex, as in, my exact feeling at the time was just, if he can do it, I can do it. And if that's your mindset, like if someone can do it, then I can do it. Like what I've noticed in the end with Amazon and with most business things is that in the beginning I was looking for like the, how do you say it? Like the golden
silver bullet.
Like the silver bullet that would change everything. And like that strategy that all the pros, the people who really make money, they just don't tell that strategy and they keep it for themselves. And no, in the end, it's super simple, and that's the beauty of it. I mean, it's not easy because it's a lot of hard work, but it's simple in the sense that you just have to like do a couple of things very well. And if you constantly improve and are critical, and again, you have the right people around you who can give you feedback, like that's extremely valuable.
So when you started the brand, so that there's yourself, at the time your girlfriend and your friend. So how did that go over the first, say, 12 to 24 months? Like what did that look like? Did you kind of immediately see traction, or was it a bit of a grind to get it going?
It was different times, and you could like Amazon. First of all, what you could do is you could give away products for free within Amazon policy, and they would just write you a review, not in the Vine program, but to anyone and as much as you could or would. So what we actually did, we started an anti-snoring brand. It It was the first brand we built. We that was very fast. It was small and light products. We could airship it from China, so our cycles were like, I don't know, 7 days production, 14 days or 7 or 10 days shipping, arriving to Amazon. So we could move extremely fast with very limited capital. And the competition, like, it was not like us now, you know, like nobody knew anything about ads. All the listings were horrible. So it was relatively easy, and we were moving very fast. Yeah. So what happened was after 6 months, because this is actually a situation. Before we started the brand, I went traveling with my ex-girlfriend, and we spent nearly all our money, and we came back, and I knew that the Dutch government had a program for people who wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I got like backed by the government, let's say. I had to do a course on entrepreneurship, and then they would give me like social security benefits for free. I didn't have to look for a job. They gave it to me, and if I was successful, I had to pay it back. And if we were not successful, then they basically void the loan. Wow. So it was an awesome program. So we did that, and after 6 months, we were like, yeah, this is going to work. So what we did, like, we lived on, with me and my girlfriend back then, on 1,200 euros a month or 1,300 euros a month, which was nothing. Our apartment was 700, so we had to like budget everything. And then we were like, why don't we go to Thailand? Because in Thailand, life is a lot cheaper than here, and you can have you have a better life basically. So after 6 months, we all moved to Thailand. Me, my business partner, and my ex-girlfriend, and we started working from there. So yeah, it moved relatively fast. We were very bad in the beginning. But again, like Alex mentioned, like the mindset of like being very critical and trying to improve everything, that was there. So we were horrible in the beginning, but even after 2 or 3 months, we were already a lot better. Like our images looked better, the branding looked better. We started to look for new products, and we're expanding quite rapidly by that time. Yeah.
So that was. So I know you went to Thailand, and then you kind of didn't you travel almost like the whole time through growing the business?
Yeah, so after 6 months we left. Then at some point we found we had some employees. So with the first 2 years, I think we were just the 3 of us, and then we didn't want to go back to Holland, so we officially moved. We moved to Dubai, and then also we started doing like the whole digital nomad thing. And at some point we were traveling with, I think, 5 employees. So we're 7 people traveling from place to place. We were like in Colombia and let's see, like Colombia, Barcelona. We've been all as a team in Bali. Everyone on the scooters, and it was a really, really cool experience. Also, we were extremely bad still at doing business. So the thing is, like, our company was doing well revenue wise, but we had no idea what we were doing. And we were very much capped. We couldn't grow. We were just continuously trying to keep things where they were. And so that was kind of a difficult thing to grow from there, yeah.
So how many, at this point, you got you started out with the anti-snoring brand. So did you have like multiple brands under the company, or what scale were you at then?
Yeah, so our strategy actually, which I now definitely not would recommend, and also I'd learned from that not to do, is that we built like 5-6 different brands. So we looked for a couple of products within a space, but we had a brand in sports and outdoors, like DIY, like we had the anti-snoring brand, like we had a couple of these things. So every time we had to build a new brand from scratch, look at the audience, find a new supplier. So we were not really leveraging the suppliers we have, or the customer data, like understanding the customer, understanding the market. Every time we started from scratch. So in the end, we ended up, when we actually sold the business, we ended up selling, I think, 6 brands under one Amazon FBA account. Yeah.
And how many years into, like, what year is this? You started around 2016. So when was the exit?
2020, somewhere like end of 2020, I think. Yeah.
So
that's I think 5 years in total was. Yeah.
And can you tell us roughly what you exited for?
Yeah, it was more or less 2.5 million. That was plus an earnout. So the earnout in the end, we didn't get any money, which I expected, but the upfront sum was 2.5 million. Yeah.
Wow. not bad for a group of friends, is it? to travel around
Nice.
with.
Not bad.
You-
Not bad
because
for the first business. Yeah.
you exited as well. I guess you were just prior to the bubble, as it were, right? The aggregator boom that kind of flooded in. Do you, looking back in hindsight, do you wish you'd held on a bit longer, or were you glad to get
No,
rid of that
man.
business?
No, like I said, like we were traveling and with all, imagine like you have 7 employees, you're like 20, 28 at the time, and you have no idea what you're doing. You're trying to just keep growing the business, and you're super stuck. And I was running around like fixing things all the time, like, putting out fires, and there was no room to grow. And I was just stuck in the business. So I wanted to sell after 3 years, because after 3 years we hit, I think 5 million revenue in the third year, and after that we maintained more or less the same amount, and I was just burned out because like I was just completely stuck in the business. So at that point in time, even if you would give me like 30% less, I would still be like, I would have hated saying yes, but I would say, yeah, let's do it, let's get rid of this, like I hate it. Yeah.
Because when we met you then, so so the exit happens, you then
Yeah.
moved to Barcelona, right? Which is obviously where we ran into you.
Yep.
And then like you had, so what happened next? So like you because I remember you had a bit of a break. I know you pretty quickly were getting back into the game, weren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've always wanted to have like, first of all, my goal was to be a millionaire at some point, So I was like, yeah, this is my goal, and I will work for this until I get it. So I worked for it, and then at some point I got the money in the bank, and I was like, okay, what now? What, Because I'm like, okay, I moved to Barcelona, started a life here, and I went to do a lot of sports, a lot of freedom, and I've never been as depressed as in my life as at that moment, because because if you have yeah, exactly. Yeah, and after only happiness, Tom, exactly. No, but I mean, like a goal is a nice thing to have, Like if you have a very big goal and you reach it, like suddenly you have to restructure your life and everything is quite empty, I mean, also you have to understand, like I was flying around, moving places. So my friends in Holland, I kind of, I didn't invest too much in, like I didn't have a lot of roots, and then you end up in a new city, just being there, enjoying life, but yeah, without a purpose. And then in the end, it's yeah. So I started quite fast doing something new, because then again, you have a new goal, new company, things to do, and that's interesting to me. Yeah.
Is this, when we first met you were like boxing like every day? Is this why?
Yeah.
Were you just trying to feel something? Just want to get grounded?
Yeah, man. Like I think in a sense, if you look at poker and then the business and then boxing, like just the adrenaline junkie in me, like you want to feel something, or have that high intensity with poker. It's like you play a hand, you can win a lot of money, you can lose a lot of money. I mean, with Amazon, like if you're constantly growing and doing things, it's exciting, and you have like the seasonality coming in, and you have the tension that comes with that, and if it's going to be the same next year. And I think like on a physical level, definitely I was kind of addicted to that, probably still am. And yeah, I think that the boxing thing also something that I could really try and figure out, just like, put my teeth in and try to improve. And yeah, that's something I enjoy. Yeah.
Another thing to learn. So you had the exit then. This is obviously then it wasn't long after that, I guess, that you met us. So since then you've obviously started new Amazon ventures, and also now your Amazon agency. So tell us a little bit then about like that part of the story. Like you had the exit, bit depressed, looking for something to
very
do.
Depressed.
Exactly. So what have you been doing since then?
So before I sold the company, I actually thought also 3 guys to do the same, and one of those guys, he was struggling a bit, and I think he asked me, or I asked him if we wanted to work together on the brand he was building. And after 6 months, I think I joined him in helping, brought myself into the company and helped to scale that brand. And what I didn't want to happen was what happened in my previous business. Like I love e-commerce, I love building businesses, but I hate getting stuck in the day-to-day stuff. Like you cannot scale and that kind of stuff. So now I was like, okay, we have to do things differently. So what happened with this business is that I think now we're 3.5 years in, or maybe 4 even, something like this. And what happened here was like, okay, we have to do it differently. So from the start, I was constantly, and we've had conversations about this as well, and like until boredom, I guess, for you guys, but like constantly like the SOPs, the system, figuring all that stuff out, making a system like, so for this business, like I'm not going to get stuck. I'm just going to do this. So for the first 2 years was just building systems, nearly no new products. And then after a year, 2.5, actually was still not going that well. So I was like, okay, something needs to change. So I was spending a lot of time with PPC. And after 7.5 years, like I did the PPC for my previous business as well. But I never really dove very deep. So 2.5 years into this new business, I didn't really have to put a lot of energy into myself because my business partner and the employee we had, they could take care of like the daily operations. And I was just looking, how can we grow this business? So I was starting to talk to some agencies who were going to do the ads for us, and they also all offered like extreme amounts, in my opinion. And also I didn't really trust that they knew what they were doing. So I was like, okay, either we hire a very expensive good agency, or which is difficult to find, or I'm just going to figure it out myself. So from that point onward, I think I spent a year of my time nearly only dedicating myself on PPC. So testing everything, not looking at videos, like my own theories, like thinking from first principles, like why would this work like this, you know? And then test it, and does it work? Like, does a keyword rank if we push a lot of traffic to it? What if we only push top of search? What if we, et cetera, we're testing hypothesis. And then, yeah, it took a very long time, but after 1.5 years, I think I'm sure we really nailed it, because like our own brand, I think in a year's time went from 1.2 million to I think 5 million in revenue. So there was a massive boost in revenue and profit. And also we're still like, I'm still not involved in that business. The only thing that really changed is that like I was able to dedicate my time into truly figuring out PPC, and then dedicating time building systems, SOP, like with Skill Insights that we use, like build or like custom strategies for that, and then build Google Sheets systems around everything that is not that we're not able to do with Skill Insights, and then teaching that to an employee, et cetera, right? So yeah, that's basically been the path from there. And then I've noticed like, okay, I've now figured this out for our business. Why don't we do this for other businesses as well, you know? Because it seems like it's working very well for us, and it's like a good hedge or like a good bet to have, since I'm not involved with the Amazon FBA side of things that much, only on like a very high level. Why don't I try this thing out for the agency, you know? And that's how we started growing the agency.
Were we? We'll proudly say, were we client number one? We were very early, right? I remember you approached us with the offer, and then we'd gone through a few of those agencies that you mentioned who were not great. It's put it lightly, I guess. So we jumped in with you, and on your SOP. I remember meeting you in 2021. We went to a co-work and met you, and you showed us your SOPs you built out at that point. I remember like leaving and talking to Alex, and I was like, "We don't need that SOP." Yeah, we were like, "What? This is way too much." And then like a year later, we were like, "Fuck, I should have built some SOPs, man." Like it was so detailed, but like that's how obviously you're so in depth in the way you think about things. It's so like pragmatic, and that is obviously for our brand. Like working with you's been amazing, and then obviously a load of other Honest FBA members we've referred to you, and I think you've kind of carved out a bit of a speciality now as well, haven't you, from D2C brands that want to get onto Amazon. I think you've had some, I don't know how much you can share there, but I know you've seen some massive growth, right, with some of those brands you brought in.
Yeah, exactly. Like we've had a couple of D2C brands with very good growth. Also brands, like I think our expertise is like brands that are already doing relatively well, let's say within like 1 to 5 million revenue a year. That will be our ideal client with let's say 5 to 15 products. And then what we do is we don't just do the PPC, but we also do our strategic growth partner. So we think with our clients, so we think about everything. So we analyze like their listings, their keywords, we look at their brand, we look at different marketplaces, we even look at packaging sizes, how we can optimize that, shipping, like we basically try to get a holistic understanding of how the business is doing. And then with all the experience we have, we first of all do the ads like extremely well, but then all the other things what is missing, we try to implement or advise or guide people on to improve their business. So we've seen like some quite crazy things, like for example, Prime Days for a client who usually did like 6,000 to 8,000 profit on a Prime Day, on the Prime Days, who this year did like 42,000 in the same. So it's 1 year after, so it's like a 7x improvement, which is kind of good. Like there's been clients who were doing 30k profit a month, which like they now have a kind of a review issue, but like within 2 months that we started, I think the 2 months later they did 120k profit instead of the 30k in the month. So like those are of course the best examples, but we've not had any client. We've been doing it for 1.5 years now, and we have a 0% like drop off rate. The only people who have dropped off, and that's also why we don't really work with these people anymore, is like really starting clients who, you know, they don't really know a lot about the space yet, and then it's just more difficult because we cannot control all the variables, right? If we're like, yeah, you need a full brand rework and we can help you with it, or you get it somewhere else, and they don't have the money to invest in that, or they just picked the wrong product or market, like that's something we cannot change. But any established brand like or like a D2C brand that wants to try out Amazon, like I would say that's definitely our expertise.
Some of the results that you've shown us have just been crazy. To like have a business go from like 30k profit to 100k is just nuts, isn't it? Like what do you think you are doing that is kind of special, right? Like because we know, because we've chatted so much about it, but like what are you doing with because you were the first person that we spoke to as an agency, aside from us kind of being like, you know, friends over the years, that we were complaining to you like these agencies, they, you know, like all they do is look at ACOS and all of this. So I know you do the whole holistic thing, which is great, but like what are you doing then with these accounts and with your own business, which I think is a really interesting part of this then, that you think is leading to these results?
Well, I think first thing to mention is this is always the lowest hanging fruit, and I go on and on about it. But the main image, your hero image, to just make it stand out and to do like spend like, if you need to, like 16 hours just making different main images and like different positions and how can we stand out, put like stickers on or how does it grab the attention, like those things, because in the end you need people to click on your listing. And we've seen just by this like main image improvement, like we've seen a doubling in click-through rate for some clients. Like it can also be a lot less, but very simple. If you double the click-through rate, you're gonna double the sales if your conversion rate stays the same. So like because of our holistic approach, like we start with most companies to really see like, okay, how can we make sure we improve the click-through rate by redoing the main image? And then apart from that, like the ads are our bread and butter, I would say, but also listing optimization. But with the ads, is we take an extremely like data-based approach. So we always take historical data from the customers, and then we run data dive analysis from all relevant competing products, and we then put it through our own spreadsheet. And from that, we build the whole ad campaign structure out from scratch. So what people do now often is that like they put like 50 different keywords in one campaign or 50 different products in one campaign, and that's a massive issue. And just a very basic reason why that's a massive issue is that if you want to have a granular control over your PPC spend, then you want to be able to control where your for each individual keyword, if you want to have it top of search or rest of search or product page to show up. And an ad campaign on Amazon, you can only set that on a campaign level. You can set bid multipliers on top of search. So let's say you bid $1, you can do placement modifier of 100% top of search, and then for all top of search impressions you pay $2. But if you have 50 keywords in one campaign, you will change it for all the 50 keywords at the same time. So why is it not a good thing? So let's say of those 50 keywords, for 10 of those keywords, you're ranking number 1 organically. like probably you're going to cannibalize a lot on your own organic sales if you're going to buy that number one spot top of search, right? Whilst for other products that you might want to, other keywords that you might want to rank up, like maybe you want to add extra invest in top of search, right? So if you don't do the basics right, so if you don't have all the keywords and you don't set up the structure in the right way, like it's impossible to do good PPC management. And then, like you said, Alex, like we track everything. We built our own dashboards. We track all the keywords for our competitors. They have a dashboard where they can see like the weekly results. And based on all the data, we talk to the customers and we see how we can improve the strategy, right? So, I think because my biggest fear when I wanted to contract an agency is that, like, two things. One, there's agencies that never been sellers themselves. So then I don't trust that you can do a good job because you've never really had skin in the game to truly understand, like, what you're doing, right? It's quite normal that someone's done a course and then it's like, yeah, I'm going to do an agency, even though like there's going to be very basic level. And maybe you also have a group of agencies that have sold on Amazon, but have sold on Amazon before they started the agency, like 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And from that, like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you start building out your strategies and with the information you have done. But once you have like 20, 50 clients, you're not going to update that strategy because you're going to have to instruct your whole team to change everything, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's like a big problem in general with service providers. Like the bigger the company, the more difficult it is to retrain everyone. And then secondly, like if you don't either have your own brand or you have had a recent brand yourself, I think it's very difficult to truly stay up to date with all the information.
Clear insight into the mind of Joshua there. Like that's a scratch on the surface of how in depth you go. But yeah, like we said, it's been great for our brand. Two things I really like, these kind of go hand in hand, but this is what is great about you, Joshua, is when we first met you, you were the first person to say things that went against the grain of what was on that we were watching on like YouTube. So when we first started out, we were learning, me and Alex, from watching other kind of Amazon FBA YouTubers, and then you were just like, we say something to you thinking like this will sound smart, and you were like, that's bullshit. And then we were like, oh fuck, like, but you went against it and you backed up the theory. But what I like as well, maybe it's like a Dutch thing, you're very honest when you work with clients. And we made a video before we launched a product last year, sunk about 100K into it. And I remember the day we were launching, you were like, I think you guys are fucked. We were like, what? And like, we were like convincing ourselves, like, no, we'll be fine, we'll be fine. You were like, nah, the numbers don't work here. And you were right, of course. You were like, set it out and just free up the cash, which like it hurt, but you know, that's what you want from an agency, right? You don't want someone who's just a yes man selling you dreams. And we could have burned even more cash on it. We actually just did what you said. Yeah, we lost money, but actually we freed it up and we went again. And there are two assets I like about your character.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's difficult because I feel like because of that I'm often like the bringer of bad news, you know, like don't shoot the messenger. But I always am like, fuck, do I really have to have this conversation again? But yeah, I mean, I think it's extremely important to at least give my perspective on things. Like I can definitely be wrong. Like I have my experience, and because of that experience, then I think I have a very good understanding of the likely outcome. But I still, of course, can be wrong, and I think it's important for clients to know early on. Yeah, I mean, if you're taking a client and you're trying to maximize their growth on Amazon, like you have to have a relationship where you're able to say these things, and like then it's up to the client if they want to. You know, if they want to go with you, or maybe they have a different opinion, and then they execute whatever they think is right.
Yeah.
So go on, Alex.
So a lot of people obviously are kind of, you know, with Amazon maturing, and you speak about the golden days, right? Of, you know, it being, you just throw up a listing and you can just crush it, right? But you know, you're living proof that like there's still a lot of money to be made on Amazon, right? But how have you then seen it change over the years, and how is it different now to, you know, when you first started out?
Yeah, so I think back in the day, just like with poker, like everything goes, well, like you said, and you have the golden days, or like the golden days and the slightly less golden days, and you know, it's like a curve. When we started, it was like, for example, I don't see any starting brands that can airship big products or even like smaller products, you have to have pretty good margins to airship things. So the thing is, the market's got more saturated, and like things like images and branding and Amazon PPC, everything becomes more difficult. However, like also if you look at the amount of information that there was then and the amount of automation and software systems that could help you, there was a lot less available then as well. So you have like the good thing about now is that, I mean, honestly, like yourselves, like there's good information out there of like courses that actually add a lot of value. Like you have like I think the weekly or bi-weekly calls where people can ask questions. You have the whole community where people help each other. Like I think these things help a lot, but in general, yes, the markets in general are more saturated because there's just more people, like more Chinese sellers and more sellers from the US and Europe to try to get their piece of the pie. Again, at the same time, like Amazon year on year, the growth has been really big. Like everybody's using Amazon more and more. So there's still a lot of money to be made, and I'm still convinced. I think actually I've changed my opinion because I'm pretty sure I don't know if when I met you, but I had this period like maybe 5 years ago when people would ask me like, would you recommend starting on Amazon? I was like, I would recommend nobody to start on Amazon because that was coming from that time when I was just overworked and always putting out fires and not focusing on like the things that were important. And now I've changed that in that sense that I think if you have the right help and you know if you have someone or a group of people that can help you guide the decisions and you focus on the things that are important, like I think it's very possible to still be successful with Amazon. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're like the current state of Amazon and like the way to win right now, right? So your brand that I think you mentioned previously, we're up to like 5 million. Like what are you at a month now with that brand?
This current brand, I think last month was 500k revenue, and I hope this month's gonna be 650, and wow. Then with it's also heavy Q4 thing, so I hope to hit the first million a month in November. That's the goal this. So let's see November, December.
So like on that point then, so what are you seeing as like the way to win nowadays on Amazon? So you are objectively that is winning. I know you're absolutely dominating the sub niche that you're in. So what are the kind of say the three main areas you think that you need to focus on to win nowadays on Amazon?
Yeah, I'll answer that question, but first I want to say like the fact that I like the agency, we were working with 4 people. It's me, my business partner, a designer, and like one other employee. And with these 4 people, we can run the agency, which is 13 clients, and we manage a business that does let's say I don't know 5 million, 6 million in revenue in a year, and like you know there's still a place to grow. So I mean that I think is proof that. Yeah, if you know what you're doing and if you take the right approach, you can still be successful at this, you know. But you have to, I think, focus on just learning something and then constantly improving on that until you understand it perfectly, and then hand it off. Like then try to teach someone that and hand it off and move forward. So the things you said, the 3 most important things, no?
Yeah, in terms of how to win nowadays, yeah.
Yeah. So. First of all, I would say like the main images we discussed, like have great looking images, including the main image that that make people want to buy, like that have high conversion, high click-through rate. Optimizing that is very important. Then second, having low COGS, like to negotiate or at least have the understanding that in the second order or in the 6th order when you scale up your quantities, your cost of goods has to be the lowest it can be. Like one of the biggest learning moments I've had was maybe in the 3rd year when some random guy in a high-level Facebook group said, you don't make money when you sell a product, you make money when you buy a product. And that really clicked with me and was like, fuck. Because in the beginning, this is how I thought. Like, I didn't want to squeeze the Chinese factories because they were so the poor Chinese. Like, you know, I was feeling bad for them if I was negotiating. That's where I was coming from. And then after that comment, I realized now it's more true than ever is that the Chinese sellers are going to have an amazing cost of goods, and they can sell at very low prices. So if you figure out a way how you can get the same cost of goods sold, like then you just have to do the main image right, the listing, the design right, and the PPC right, and you've got this. You know what I mean? Because if they can do it with a shitty listing and a shitty main image, just because they're running with good cogs, like you can do it too, right? So I would say, like, keyword research, PPC, main image, listing, and good cogs, and then you just have to do better than everyone else. What's the big deal here, you know?
It's easy.
Exactly, easy money.
But yeah, I think it's one of those, isn't it? It's like it's not rocket science. It's doing quite simple things well consistently, and things that kind of seem a little bit obvious. I think there are some things, like one of the big things that we learned from working with you was really the impact of pricing, which might sound a little bit obvious, but for a long while in our niche, we kind of set the price, and we were just like kept putting the price up, and we were like, this is easy. You're just like putting the price up, you know, and then what happens in reality is people come in, they copy your product, they drop the price, and then you're like, shit. And we kind of sailed for a while without having to kind of deal with that. And then it was really when we started chatting to you about everything properly, and we really started to look a bit more at the overall sort of like market dynamics. And I think that's another thing that you do really, really well, is a lot of beginners especially kind of come into it and they just look at their own product and they're like, I want to sell this for $40. And then it's like, well, you've got all these other people that are running these offers and these coupons, and they're running, you know, they're priced at $30, and they kind of ignore what everybody else is doing. But you've got this really good way of really looking at what everybody in the niche is doing, their pricing, the offers they're running, what they're doing with their main images, and like finding a way to really get in there and be able to compete. When you have that bigger picture, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, I think market dynamics are extremely important, and that's why also the COGS has to be. That's related to the COGS, like your buying price. Like in the end, it's a supply and demand situation. So if I think in your position where you're one of the first entrants in that niche you were in, and you were just making way too much money, and then all the Chinese sellers, they were like, hey, I would like a piece of that pie, basically, because there's so many people, and that's the biggest problem. Like many people are researching how to building brands and trying to enter new niches. So Jeff Bezos said, your margin is my opportunity, and that's also like in general what's happening in business. As in, if you are having a massive margin, definitely on Amazon, it's only a matter of time and not a long time before other sellers other sellers with deeper pockets than you have, other sellers who have like a couple of brands and who have like 20 products and they can negotiate better prices than you, and they have a design team that just come in and take over. So yeah, I think it's extremely important to price right. And with right, I mean like what's more or less, I mean there's always exceptions, but usually if you are able to set the same price as your number one competitor now, but you're able to like offer a better listing with a more interesting product, more variations, like better listing design, and you negotiate a better cost of goods sold. Like in the end, Amazon and the ranking is all about like the numbers. Is your click-through rate better? Is your conversion rate better? Do you sell more products? Yeah, then Amazon wants to rank you higher, right? So like figuring out how to do that and not like stretching up the margins too much. Like that's what we're doing in our current niche. Like I like to win, and that's my favorite thing. So what I like to do like in these niches, like we could have priced relatively high. We put like 4 products in the same niche, and now we have like headline ad, first 4 sponsored ads, number 1, 2, and number 5 organic ranking, and then all the ads you basically see our brand everywhere. And we also don't price. We could have said, okay, we're going to make money in the short term. We're going to price it up by like $2, but then it will make it more easy for a competition to survive or to thrive, or new sellers to come in, because then they're like, hey, this brand is selling I know at this point like 20,000 units of a specific product, and seem to be making a lot of money, which might be true, which might not be true, because people don't estimate the PPC stuff right. That's another big thing. But so if we would have raised the prices on the short term, we would have made more money. But actually, like I have a longer term vision, and our strategy is like, okay, we're going to this year really flood the niche, squeeze the prices. Like we're gonna just keep, like we're gonna max out the price of what it was. We're gonna buy all the ad spots. We're gonna make it impossible for anyone to compete with us, because it's just gonna be, the ad prices are gonna be too expensive, and the organic sales for us are going to be very profitable still. But nobody else can get organic sales because we're ranked organic the highest spots, like nearly nobody. And then on the ad spots, like they have to make very little money or break even. So if you do that for a year, like you're gonna bleed the niche out, and then then maybe you can raise prices a bit. But I think, and that's the beauty. For me, it's like a game. It's very fun to
it's very
to think about these things.
Yeah, it's like a game of chess. It's like building that defense very strategically, and thinking about always like 5 or 6 steps. Again, it's like what you do in poker, right? Like you're always kind of thinking ahead. And it reminds me there's a brand, it's Aaron, I can't remember his surname, Cordovez, the Zule Kitchen founder. And he's like, he sells products that you look at and you would think that should be dominated, like garlic presses, like these electric whisks, super cheap products. But like he's mastered the art of what you're talking about. Like he's everywhere in a niche. He's got 6 or 7 variations. He absolutely goes crazy with testing his hero images. He's got a banner at the top. He uses tons of variations with different pricing to get people in, to get them. So he's seeing the bigger picture, like what you're talking about with the whole marketplace, and how you build this like moat and you kind of compete. And for me, that's what's like super, super interesting. And to see you do it with your own brands, but then also with ours, like we've, because you've been running our sort of PPC side, like now we've invested so heavily in our product packaging, for example, because you helped us understand how important that hero image is. And a huge part of that is obviously if you've got packaging that you can make really stand out. Like people have tried to copy us now, but their packaging is just nowhere near as good as ours. So like you look at our products now and you search the brand name or you search one of the keywords, and there's 4 products that pop up. They jump off the page, and we're just getting,
it's beautiful.
We're getting so much growth. So all that stuff, has been super, super interesting for us to kind of learn it through your brand, but then also like applying it to our brand as well. So what does the future hold for you then? Like what are you planning on? I know you're aiming for this $1 million month. Like where do you want to take it with your brands, and then also with the agency?
That's a very good question, and probably the right answer to that question would be like, try to take it easy, like spend more time with my friends and girlfriend and family.
Boring
and
answer,
stuff.
though.
I know it's a boring answer, but I'm incapable of doing that, Alex. Money, you know what I mean? Exactly. So the point is like, that's what I should want, and I kind of do want that. But like the thing is with me, like the moment I finish a project or then I want to do the next thing. So first we're going to. For the brands, we have 2 brands now. One brand we want to sell next year because it's a good brand, but it's only Q4, so it's like the 40 days before like the Cyber Monday, Black Friday. We make all the money, and then throughout the year nearly nothing. So the return on investment on a yearly basis on the money is really low. So we want to get rid of that, and then expand the other brand, which is just like we just talked about. Present everywhere. We want to expand that, and maybe even go to like retail stores or something like this, expand that, potentially build a new brand and scale the agency. So plenty of work to do. No specific targets like 10 million a year or 20 million, but like it's just doing interesting things, that's interesting to grow and to learn.
Becoming a YouTube sensation in the Amazon space.
Exactly.
On that point, tell you what,
I'll leave that to you.
That was a good segue. Joshua, we just launched, as this is out, our mega video, as we called it, 17-hour long kind of full Amazon course. Joshua kindly added content for that with his area of expertise in the PPC field. So make sure to go and check that out. Joshua, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much for coming on. This is like really, really enjoyable for us, and we're happy to finally do this. I think we've discussed it for about a year, so glad to get it done. If people want to contact you, like we'll link down below to Moonads for sure. Where's the best place to reach out to you?
Yeah, Twitter is probably the best place. At Moonads Joshua on Twitter.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure we'll do a round 2 in future when you're doing 5 million a month or something ridiculous. Another one lesson from this podcast is don't enter Joshua's niche because he'll kill you. He'll drown you.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, mate. We'll see you soon.
Thanks so much for the invite and nice being here. Yeah, good
Cheers, yeah.
conversation.